I'm so excited to be here. I got this call from Cindy, and she said, I have a favor. Can you come to Vegas? And oh, by the way, can you go to Reno the day after? So I'm doing a tour of your lovely state, but you should all know that back in Wisconsin, they got 2 more inches of snow today. So I am planning to stay until it's gone. I don't know if my money will run out fast, but I think it probably will, considering the location I'm in. Before I start on my talk today, I was hoping that I could just give you a little bit of a NAIFA update from the national perspective. Since I'm here, and many of you don't have the opportunity on a real regular basis to attend the national convention, I want to give you some of the highlights as to what we're working on at the national level. So really the mission for NAIFA is threefold. We want to protect your business, we want to grow your business, and we want to promote ethical behavior. I don't know that I need to spend a lot of time on ethical behavior. I won't do that today. We obviously know that we want ethical people serving consumers. We know when we have bad eggs out there, it reflects poorly on all of us. So NAIFA's very strong on ethical behavior. The second one I want to cover is growing your business. How many of you are LUTCF designation? A few of you. Excellent. Some of you may have heard there's some changes happening with LUTCF. It is not going away. There has been some rumblings out there about it maybe disappearing. NAIFA has actually formed a new partnership with the College for Financial Planning. And we will be relaunching LUTCF in a whole new way. We're going to use some of the great base curriculum, like that hands-on learning that you all remember, those action plans you used to have to do when you took your LUTC classes. Those will continue, which I'm very excited about. It might look a little bit different, but we believe there's going to be a lot of fresh, new energy put into this program. The College for Financial Planning has become an incredibly wonderful partner to work with. They are actually going to start offering some pretty significant discounts for the LUTCF curriculum if you are a NAIFA member. They will continue to require you to be a NAIFA member when you confer for LUTC, which I think is important. But please watch for more information. We're kind of in this cooling off period as the American College kind of winds down their LUTC curriculum, and we're ramping ours up. So please watch for that. We're excited about what that might mean. We also think it might mean some great things for members. We think that we are going to start attracting members as a result of this program, because the College for Financial Planning has a very different sort of group of customers than the American College does, and their group of customers are more of the banks and the brokerage, and we're hoping that that might attract some people to our membership ranks as well. So we're excited about that. Another thing I wanted to just bring you up to speed on is something called Advisor 2020. How many of you are hoping to be in business yet in 2020? Awesome. Everybody should raise their hand, right? Nobody wants to leave this business. Advisor 2020 is a joint research project that we went in and did with the Gamma Foundation. Gamma is the General Agents and Managers Association. We're so excited about this project. A couple years ago, they had done a research project called Firm 2020, which was all about how the the GA or the agency of the future would need to look. Well, we went to them and said, you know what? The agency manager is not going to be successful unless the advisors are successful that they manage. And so they said, you're right. We need to do another research project. And so they went out and they did this Advisor 2020 research project. The study is done. There's a book that you can purchase. But what we're really excited about is NAIFA, along with the Gamma Foundation, is developing a workshop. And we're going to try to put a bunch of tools together in a toolkit for you to help you really figure out how to propel your practice forward so you're prepared to be part of a very thriving, successful agency or practice in the year 2020 and beyond. So we're excited about what that means. So please keep an eye out for that. I think that that's one of the most exciting projects that we're coming out with. Because nobody likes change. And I have known of one thing, and I'll share this more when I start to talk a little bit about my father and the transition in our agency. He had the most difficult time with change, and I am less less having trouble with that. So I think it's been an interesting transition in our own firm to provide what we need to have in order to be to have our firm be successful going forward. So Advisor 2020. I just want to spend a few minutes on protecting your business. NAIFA is very active, and you heard Nick, right? Neil, sorry. Neil and Joe, right? They both talked about pick and pack. The environment in Washington, D.C. has changed. Our industry has to not only worry about legislators now, we also have to be very, very friendly with regulators. Believe it or not, regulators can change our industry even more drastically by a rule change sometimes than a legislative change. Now, we've got the PAC, and that PAC is amazing, and I can't even tell you how important it is, because sometimes the only way you get to see a legislator is if you're handing them a check. It shouldn't be like that, but it is. For years, when I first started in this industry, I had to hand a check to someone who I did not agree with politically. But I will tell you, he was on our side legislatively. He protected the insurance industry. So every year I went and I delivered that check. And I handed it to him, and I wanted to hold on because I didn't want to give him the money. But I gave him the money because he was our friend and protected our industry. It doesn't matter your political affiliation. What matters to NAIFA is protecting what you do every day. That is the critical piece. So we have, again, we are building our relationships nonstop with legislators, both at the federal level, and I know you're also doing that here at the state level. But we are also now becoming very good friends with regulators. FINRA, SEC, Health and Human Services, the Department of Labor, and I'm thinking that list might continue to grow. Our industry has a lot of great tax advantages to the products that we use every single day with our clients. And I promise you, they're looking for money. And I don't want to lose any of those advantages that we've all come to know and love. And our clients depend on that. So there's two specific things I want to talk about before I get into my speech. First is tax issues. If you sell life insurance, if you sell annuities, please, please, please pay attention. There is definitely going to be some changes in the tax law. I want you to know NAIFA has a very, very talented group of individuals on our behalf watching every bill that goes through. But we need your help. We need you to get actively involved in this process. The day will come where we need you to write a letter. We need you to send an email. We need you to make a phone call. When you get that red action alert on your email, we're not crying wolf. We need your help. NAIFA has one of the most powerful things that many other associations don't have, and that's our grassroots advocacy. We have 40,000 members. Do you think they would pay attention if we all spoke up at the same time? I promise you they would. So please pay attention to what's coming. We're watching it every single day. We have definitely staved a few things off at the pass, but we know that more is coming. So tax reform is a huge concern, and I, for one, don't want to lose any of the tax advantages that our products have. The second one is fiduciary standard of care. Many of you may have heard of that. Fiduciary standard of care basically says, I have to act in my client's best interest no matter what. I have to look at every single product in the whole universe and offer the best product for that client. It also is pushing our industry to be more of a fee-based industry. Now, some of you may have a chunk or a good portion of your practice already in a fee-based environment. I happen to operate in a commission-based environment completely. I live in a town of 1,900 people, and most of my clients, very, very few of my clients, are candidates for fee-based planning. I want to be able to continue to serve people that want to put $50 a month away into their Roth IRA. If I had to switch to a fee-based environment, I probably wouldn't be able to continue to serve those people. So what's going to happen is the lower and middle income market would be underserved. So this is a really important thing. NAIFA is wanting to stand and say, that we are standing and saying, allow the agent to practice in the business model that best fits their clientele. If it's fee-based, let them do fee-based. If it's commission-based, let them do commission-based. If it's a combination, let them do that. The tough part is that the regulators were after individuals who were operating in the fee-based environment, and that's exactly what they want to switch everyone to. So again, it's really about educating, and in this case, it's educating regulators. This is in the SEC, in FINRA, and in the Department of Labor. All three of those regulatory bodies are looking at fiduciary standard of care. So again, we're watching that very, very closely. I will just say that the time has come for us to start calling people that are not members of NAIFA and getting them to join this association. This is the time to have numbers behind us. We are going to need everyone who drives any kind of income out of this industry to be able to stand up and say no or yes, whatever it is. We need everyone to be part of that discussion. So I'm going to leave it at that. Just remember that NAIFA's mission is to protect your business, to grow your business, and to promote ethical behavior. So with that, I'm going to kind of move into my talk for the day, and I'd be happy if you have questions regarding anything I talked about, please let me know. I'll be here afterward. But I want to spend some time, this is a talk I've done a couple times called Success on Purpose, and it really is about my journey. And I hope that you find something in this talk that you can take back and apply in your own practice. But I want to just ask a question, because a couple years back I started to ask myself, what's my definition of success? And I'm going to ask a question, are there any managers in the room today? A couple. So just close your ears for a second, okay? Your manager cannot set your goals or set your definition of success, right? Do you agree with that? Excellent. Now, some of them believe they can. Some of them believe that success is winning the company trip. Some of them believe success is getting MDRT qualified. Some of them believe success is getting your CFP designation. Whatever it is, your manager cannot set your definition of success. Success is only something you can set for yourself. I would bet that if I asked everyone in this room, what's your definition of success, it would be different, right? So I'm going to ask a couple people. Anybody want to give me what they think their definition of success is? And if you don't raise your hand, I'll come and find you. Right here. Excellent.
I'm not homeless.
You're not homeless. I can honestly say I've never gotten that answer before. But that is successful. See? The mortgage is paid. Excellent. Anybody else? Yes.
It's just happiness.
What's happiness to you?
It depends on the individual.
But for you, I want to know what your happiness. See, you didn't know we were going to get personal here today.
That's very personal. No, I think just security, vacations, time with family.
Excellent, excellent. So I asked this question one day, and a woman in the back of the room said, success to me is spending time with my grandkids. Really? That was her definition of success. That's all that mattered to her. Now, your definition of success will probably change. Can you think back of what your definition of success was when you were in college? I made it through that party, you know, whatever it was. I woke up and I actually was in my own bed. That every single one of us changes our definition of success as we go through life, right? You are the only one that can set that definition. This is, and I don't know if you can all read this. I know it's kind of small. I'll read it to you. This is Steve Jobs. I didn't see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. The heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again. Less sure about everything, It freed me to enter one of the most creative periods of my life. Was Steve Jobs successful? Wow. Here's a guy who started a business in his garage with his buddy, built it up, ended up getting fired, came back, got some incredibly difficult health issues that he had to deal with late in life, and then he passed away. Did he leave an incredible impact on our world? Oh my gosh. What an incredible guy. So he was able to look at something that was perhaps one of the most difficult times of his life, and he turned it into a positive. This is just a graphic of what your lifeline might look like. We all have high points, and we all have low points. Now, you may have come here today on a high because you just landed the most amazing sale that you never thought you would get. You'd worked on it for 5 years, and you're on a high right now. You might have come today, and you're on a low. You just found out someone in your family has some health issues that you're having to deal with. Or you might be somewhere in between. Regardless, life deals us ups and downs, and it's how we deal with those that help us reset that definition of success. You will never change your life until you change something you do daily. The secret of your success is found in your daily routine. If you don't like what your life is doing right now, you probably should try to change it. Make it better. So when I first started in this industry, I'll give you a little bit of a background on me. I went to college in Minneapolis, and I never was going to sell insurance. That's what I told my dad. Never going to happen, Dad. You can keep asking, not going to happen. And I got my first job in banking in corporate America. Ooh, that was fun. It took me about 5 years to realize corporate America was not my thing. I was working very hard, long hours, getting my same salary, and I was watching the VPs getting their $3 million bonus. And one day I called my dad and I said, "Are you sitting down?" He said, "Yep." I said, I know he thought I was going to ask for money, but I wasn't. I said, "Dad, I think I'm going to give this a try. I'm going to move home. If I'm ever going to do this, now's the time to do it. I'm going to sell my house, I'm going to leave my friends, and I'm going to come back home, and I'm going to work in your business." I think he couldn't have gotten out of the house and got the moving truck and got to Minneapolis faster. He was there the next week, wanted to move me home, and I did. I moved back to Wisconsin, left an incredibly, what I thought was a great life, but I decided it was something different that I was looking for. Now, the first 3 years, anybody been in the industry less than 3 years? I know we have one back there, but a couple of you. I'm so glad you're not homeless yet. You won't be. Hang in there. So the first 3 years were incredibly difficult. I remember it like it was yesterday. I cried nearly every day. You don't need to cry every day, but I did. I kept thinking, oh my gosh, there's so much to learn. This industry is incredibly difficult. I don't know what I'm talking about. I can't go out and talk to these clients. And I remember one day sitting in my dad's office. It was about 3 years in. And I was sitting at his round table, because every good life insurance agent has a round table, right? Anybody got round tables in their office? That's what he always used to say to me. I was crying at his table, and I said, "Dad, I think I made a huge mistake. I don't like this. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not finding success." And I'll never forget the words he said to me that day. He said, "Jules," which is what he calls me. "Jules, there's a gold mine here. Do not give up." And I'll not forever forget those words, because I've gone back to him 100 times, 1,000 times since then. That was 15 years ago. There's a gold mine here. Now, he wasn't really talking about the money I could make. He was talking about the impact I could make and the joy that I could find in my career and what I was doing for my career. There's a gold mine here. So from that day forward, I made a decision. I was going to do something about it. This was my first 3 years. I was so afraid that I was in a prison, Action conquered fear, so I started taking action. I wish I could tell you that it got all better real fast, but it didn't. But each day I took another step forward to continue to learn this industry and to understand how I could make an impact on my clients. So let's fast forward a little bit. I was in the industry about 12 years. And we were sitting at the same round table, my dad and I, except now it was my round table. I had kicked him out. He had spent most of his time in Arizona, so I was able to take over his office. But we were sitting at that same table, and he said, "Jules, things seem to be going pretty good. I'd kind of like you to take over the agency and start, pouring everything into it. I'm going to try to step away a little bit more. What do you think?" I said, "Well, I'd be happy to do that, Dad, but if I do that, I want to have some ownership." He said, "Well, how much do you want?" I said, 51%, Dad. He didn't like that too much, but he said, "Will you settle on 50-50? I said, "I think I can make that work." So he began to gift shares of our firm over to me, and I slowly started to take over the practice. Now, I wanted to take it in a different direction. I knew in order to do that, I needed some ownership. And I'll never forget those conversations. My first difficult moment was when I wanted to purchase a new server that would allow us to work remotely from anywhere. It was a $6,000 ticket. He said, "No, we're not doing that." And we argued a lot. I happened to take the argument to Arizona. In his world, I worked it for a whole week. I said, "You know what? I'm going to tell you what I want to do." And of course he said no. I said, "I'll come back and we'll talk tomorrow." And I left. And we left that topic. And it took me 5 days to get him to agree to finally spend $6,000 on a new server. It was the start of what we needed to have happen in our firm to move it forward. We needed to have the ability to access technology from no matter where we were. We needed to do electronic storage for our files. We were running out of file cabinet room. So there was a lot of reasons why we needed that one thing. See, he was so strong in what he knew, which was how to build that agency 45 years ago. But I had probably the energy to take it to where it needed to go in the next, hopefully, 45 years. I don't know how long I'll make it, but let's hope it's 45. I am not a yet, so just so you know, I'm a little over that. So it began to get better, and I'm proud to tell you today now that I'm 100% owner of our agency. It only took him a couple years, and he started to see what I could do if he just would get out of the way. And it's been a great ride. I remember he used to say to me, "I need to see the financials. I want to see how it's going." And I would show him, and he'd go, "Holy crap, you're doing pretty good." "Yep, Dad, I'm going to just keep sending you rent checks. It's all good." And he let it happen. So it's a great, great story to tell you kind of how I came into this industry. But there were so many things I learned about those first 12 years in the industry. So many of those moments were what I call defining moments. Moments in your life where you have a choice to make. And it's what you do about that choice or what choice you choose that will help you figure out what's your next definition of success. So this is a 5-step process that I go through every time I'm faced with a challenge. I want to remember the defining moments. I told you earlier, I remember my dad saying to me, "There's a gold mine here." I don't forget those words because that's what helps me continue to move forward in the future. Because there is a gold mine in our industry. Responsibility. It wasn't until I took responsibility for my own success that I actually found it. Crazy how that works. Your manager can't make you successful. They can give you all the tools and resources you need, but it's up to you to take responsibility. You're the one that's got to make those calls till 9 o'clock at night if you have to. You're the one that has to make sacrifices. I hope you don't have to be homeless because that's not part of the plan. But you definitely have the ability. It's your responsibility Respect it. Everything that happens to us should be teaching us something. Respect those moments for what they are. There's something you're supposed to learn in everything that happens. Reflect on it. I find myself going back to my first 3 years in the business a lot because I remember that feeling. And then I think, gosh, I know that I can help someone else get through those first 3 years because I remember how difficult they were. And then reset. Continue to reset your definition of success. It's never going to get stale if you do that. Success is happiness. It's about spending time with your grandkids. It's about going on vacation more, whatever it is for you. I love this slide, and if you haven't figured it out, I like quotes a lot. This slide says, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. So if you're feeling uncomfortable right now, know that a change is taking place in your life, and place in your life is a beginning, not an ending. Can you imagine what that fish feels like on the right? And boy, did he have to take a leap of faith to get there. I felt like that's what I had done when I left the banking industry and tried this new career. There are also things in your life that I call bursting moments. Moments in your life where you go, I have found success. It's that moment when you have like this joy bubbling up inside of you. Maybe it's the first child that was born, or the second child, or the first grandchild. Maybe it's when you made MDRT for the first time. You want to do the exact same thing in those moments that you do when you have a defining moment. And I go through the same process. Again, this is just a mental checklist. It's not something I spend a ton of time on, but I want to remember those bursting moments. One of my favorite moments was just a couple years ago here in Las Vegas at Caesar's Palace, standing behind the curtain, waiting for the NAIFA National Council to find out that I had won the secretary election. It was a pretty great day. I remember thinking, oh my God, I made it. How the heck did I end up here? But that was a moment I don't want to forget. Now ask me in a couple more years if I'm still happy, but no, I know I will be. But that's a moment you want to remember. Responsibility. Please don't let it become an ego thing. I've seen too many people in our industry find success, and all of a sudden you can't even get close to them because their heads are so big. There are so many people to serve in this world. You don't need to have an ego to do it. And guess what? Your next success could be even better than the last one if you allow it to be. Respect it. Respect those moments, again, as another way to learn about yourself and how to get back there. Reflect on them, and again, reset. I want to know how to get back to another high like that. Last year I made core to the table for the first time in a year where I spent a lot less time sitting in my office than I ever thought I would. And I made core to the table. I have no idea how that happened. But you get a lot more focused when you're busy. You can accomplish anything you set your mind to, and actually sometimes stuff you don't even think you can accomplish, you get it done. Remember those bursting moments. So that generally when I ask people about success, 3 things come up. Things that fulfill you. One is purpose, one is health, and one is relationship. Usually people's definition of success revolves something around those 3 things. I like to serve my clients well. I love that I have a healthy family and I have my own health. I love the great relationships I have with my family members or my friends or my clients. Those 3 things are generally part of everyone's definition of success. I love this slide because it says, having a rough morning, place your hand over your heart and feel that. That's called purpose. You're alive for a reason. Don't give up. Even if you feel like you're in the middle of that ice patch. Anybody ever felt like that? So let's talk a little bit about purpose. Our purpose is something we give our heart to. I can't think of a better career than this career to have that feeling of purpose every day. I'll never forget the first death claim I ever had to settle on a policy I actually wrote. Not one my dad had written, but one that I had written. It was a 10-year term policy, but the client had come in by himself. He didn't come in with his wife because he had an old universal life policy that was dying on the vine. Anybody have any of those in their books? He came to me and he said, I know this policy's not going to last. I don't want to leave my wife and kids with nothing, so can you help me figure out what we can do? So we sat down and we talked about it, and it wasn't long that we realized he couldn't afford a lot. So we wrote him a $100,000 10-year term policy. He was in his mid-40s, nowhere near what he needed, but it was better than nothing, and it's all that he could afford. So we wrote the policy. About 3 years later, I got a pretty frantic call from his wife. Can you please tell me if my husband still has a life insurance policy with you? I know we had taken one out years ago, but I just want to make sure that it's still in force. He died this morning of a massive heart attack while he was milking the cows. And my heart just sank. Just 3 years earlier, I had seen him in my office. A term policy, and I immediately started to think about how much did we write? How much did we write? I said, yes, I know he's got a policy here. Let me do some checking on it. I'll call you next week and we'll get together in person. So I went out with the claim paperwork. We sat at her kitchen table, both of us crying. She was crying, obviously, because she had lost her husband. She has 3 children. The oldest was 17, senior in high school, and it was her son. And he had vowed to help her keep that farm running. I was crying because I knew I hadn't provided enough life insurance for this family, but I was grateful that I was able to deliver $100,000. It meant her being able to stay on that farm and not have to have a fire sale. 2 years later, she did end up selling the farm. But that was a moment I won't ever forget. I don't ever want to sit in front of a widow again and say, I know this isn't going to be enough for all that you need, but I'm glad that I'm delivering you a check. I want to be able to say, we planned for this. We had hoped it had never happened, but now that it has, at least we know we have a plan. And I'm here to help you figure out that plan going forward. That was a moment that will continue to define who I am. Each and every one of us have clients and stories like that. We've helped with claims. You can't get much more purpose in a career choice than our career. It doesn't matter if you're selling an annuity and helping someone plan for their retirement dream, if you're selling health insurance and helping someone cover a catastrophic sickness or injury that they have, or disability. It doesn't matter which product you use. We are coming to them with a plan and a purpose. It's incredibly rewarding what we do every single day. This is Tim Tebow. Success comes in a lot of ways, but it doesn't come with money and it doesn't come with fame. It comes with having a meaning in your life, doing what you love, and being passionate about what you do. That's having a life of success. I love what I do. I hope all of you do as well. I have so much fun working with my clients, and they're all like family to me. There are many things in life that will catch your eye, but only a few will catch your heart. Pursue those. That's your passion. So the next area is your health. And I want to share a couple stories with you here as well. Your health is so important to you. And it's really usually when you don't have your health that you realize how important it is. I'll never forget October 28th, 2003. My grandma came into my office very frantic. I could tell there was something major going on, and she said, Julie, I need your help. She said, I went by the Loyal office. We have 2 offices in our agency, and she said there was an ambulance up front. And I thought that was a little strange, but I didn't think anything of it until it went flying by me with the sirens blaring and the lights on. Can you help me figure out what's wrong? Now, the Loyal Agency at that time was housing my uncle and my cousin, who ran the property casualty division of our companies. So I made a couple calls and found out that it was my cousin Paul, who at the time was 29 years old. He was being rushed to the hospital. He got to the hospital, they thought he was having a massive heart attack. He got to the hospital, and the ER doctor said, "This isn't a heart attack." And he called in the cardiologist, and the cardiologist said, "Yeah, you're suffering from a dissected aorta. We either need to do surgery or you're going to die." And my cousin Paul, who at the time was still coherent, said, "I think we better do surgery." He has a pretty good sense of humor. So they rushed him into surgery, and if you don't know what a dissected aorta is, you generally don't survive it. John Ritter died of it quite a few years ago now. So they were able to stop the bleeding, and the doctor came out and said, "Well, he's okay for now, but he's not out of the woods. We've got a lot to talk about going forward." Well, 12 surgeries later, my cousin Paul is a walking miracle. He's got papers being written on him from Mayo Clinic, but he's got an artificial aorta from his valve all the way down to his legs. The most significant surgery he had was when they took all of his organs and laid them on the table next to him and stitched the whole new artery all the way down. Now, Paul and I are pretty close, so this was a pretty traumatic journey over about 6 years. Paul is going to take over his dad's agency, just like I took over my dad's agency. And we used to joke, we still do, we're going to do pretty dang good in this world with the old guys gone. Now, I have successfully gotten rid of my old guy. He's still working on his, but we're getting real close. But you know, Paul's health was so important to me because he was part of my success, my definition of success. He was with me the whole way through. Now, I have a little bit of a sad story to share as a segue to that. Just this last September, Paul's brother Sam had the same thing happen to him. Unfortunately, Sam did not make it. So just 3 years prior to that, I had met with Sam and his wife. She was pregnant at the time, and we did their whole planning process. And I'm going to tell you, I am so grateful we did that now. Because in December, I was able to deliver her nearly $1 million in life insurance claims, and she won't have to worry about finances for the rest of her life. Health is so important, and what we do is so important. That is the most difficult death claim I've ever had to settle. And I get a little emotional even talking about it because it's pretty fresh. I told Amy, Sam's wife, I said, "Amy, your husband left you a gift. It was a present we hoped you'd never have to open, but we're opening it up today. And he's going to be with you every step of the way." Health is so important. Don't forget it. Your loved one's health is so important. My mom has had cancer 3 times. The last time she got the diagnosis, I said, "Mom, I'm not even worried." She said, "Why not?" I said, "We got this. We've learned from the last 2 times this has happened, and we're going to get through it just fine." As of today, she's cancer-free. Let's hope it continues. But that is part of my definition of success, health of the people I love. Relationships. We are in the relationship business, right? Every single one of our clients are so important to us. My clients are like my family. My staff is like my family. I spend a lot of time with my staff. Some people come into our lives and quickly go. Some stay for a while and leave footprints in our hearts. We are never, ever the same. When I said earlier our clients are really important to us, we started doing a little bit of a different marketing strategy in our agency. We want to continue to build very long-standing relationships with our clients. So we started to emphasize more on that relationship side. So this is potentially an idea that all of you could try in your own practices. It's been working very well for us. We have ladies' nights and men's nights. We do a lot of customer appreciation events. The ladies love it. Wine, cheese, and a massage therapist in the corner. Lots of conversation. Sometimes we have a subject where we have a speaker come in, but it's completely casual. Absolutely no business is discussed, but they are welcome to bring their friends that they've always wanted to introduce to their financial advisor. We've started to get quite a few referrals off of these. They don't cost us a lot. We do them right in our office. The men's nights, believe it or not, they talk even more than the women. We are doing, we just did a fishing event. We had a taxidermist come in and talk about mounting your big catch. We had a guy come in and talk about food plots for hunting. I don't know if that means anything to all of you here, but in Wisconsin, believe it or not, they plant stuff so the deer will come and eat it, and then they shoot them. I don't understand it all, but the men loved it. So, welcome to the Midwest, right? That's what we do when it's not so cold outside. But the guys loved it. They brought their friends. I've always wanted you to meet Julie, they would say. We call up their friend. They're now our clients. We do customer appreciation picnic every summer. We invite all of our clients. I don't care if you're in Arizona, you're going to get an invitation. If you can make it for a brat and some potato salad, welcome to Spencer, Wisconsin. It goes a long, long way. We want our clients to know that we're their friends. We're like their family. We want them to be so comfortable with us, they'll bring their friend to anything we do. Try it. You might be surprised it will work in your own practice. It's been great fun doing it, because of course we get the wine and cheese too. I'm not so sure about the hunting one, though. That doesn't really apply to me. Last time I asked a really stupid question as the only female in the room, but it's okay. They all forgave me. Relationships are so important. I wanted to show you a couple pictures. The upper left corner is my staff. It is a little bit out of date. I got to get a new picture. I've got a couple new faces on there. My dad is the guy in the back. He's now fully retired. My staff, again, they're like my family. If they weren't there in Wisconsin doing what they're doing, I could not be giving the time that I am to NAIFA. Some months, April, May, and June, I'll probably be in my office about 5 or 6 days the whole month. But I can promise you they're working really hard every single one of those days. They're extremely responsive, and I could not do this without them. The lower right corner, this guy right here is Paul. He's my walk-in miracle. To the next to him is my cousin Leslie, his sister. The two of them are going to take over the property casualty agent from their dad. I call this our generations picture. Insurance seems to be in our blood. My dad is next to my uncle, and I'm, of course, took over his agency. My mom is next to my dad. My brother-in-law is taking over her agency. My parents were divorced when I was 13. My mom has a Modern Woodman of America agency. And my brother-in-law is taking that over. My uncle, my mom's brother, has a senior products agency, and his son is taking over that agency. So it is in our family. It's in our blood. What's that? Just like somebody you know? Just like your family? Great. See, my dad knew I never stood a chance. It was in my blood. So what I'd like you to do is to connect your dots. Where are you at right now? Are you at that high point? Are you at that low point? Are you somewhere in between? Look back on what your life has been and figure out all of the things you learned about who you are and what makes you more successful going forward. Connect your dots. I had to throw a Vince Lombardi quote in. I am from Wisconsin, after all. The difference between a successful person and others is not a lack of strength, not a lack of knowledge, but rather a lack of will. You all have the ability to find your own success. There's no doubt in my mind. Remember, take responsibility, respect, reflect, and reset. Now, I've done a lot of traveling for NAIFA, and it's been an amazing experience. One of my most recent trips last year, about this time, I went to NAIFA, Oregon for their meeting. And I often take time to really reflect. And for some reason, the ocean is a big thing for me. When I see the ocean, I kind of get these great ideas where I'm going next. My staff always goes, "Oh no, here she comes again." But I was in Oregon. We happened to have the meeting on the coast. And believe it or not, it rained the entire time I was there. And I was just like, "Oh, I really would like to take a walk on the beach. You know, God, just let me have a moment on that beach, okay?" So it was Friday morning, the last morning I was there. For some reason, I woke up at 5:30 that morning. I didn't need to get up at 5:30, but I was awake. I looked out the window, and sure enough, it was raining. I thought, well, who's going to see me at 5:30 in the morning? I'm going to go for a walk anyway. So I did. And I walked around the corner, and this is the picture. It stopped raining. I had my walk on the beach. I had about 45 minutes of just really good time to reflect on where I was at, on that lifeline that I was talking about, where I had been, where I was going. It was an incredibly great moment for me. And I felt like for some reason I was in the right place at the right time. But I finished my walk, and I thought, I'm going to look back one more time, because a girl from Wisconsin doesn't see the ocean very often. So I look back, and I don't know if you can see that, but there's a rainbow there. And that was my confirmation. I was in the right place at the right time. I'm heading in the right direction, and now it's up to me to continue to figure out what's next. This is one quote that I love. There are so many people out there who will tell you that you can't. What you've got to do is turn around and say, "Watch me." There's a lot of people that probably thought I would never be successful in this industry, and I've worked really hard to prove them wrong. There's a few people who probably never wanted to have a female as the national president of NAIFA, but there is now a female who will be president of NAIFA. There is absolutely nothing stopping you from reaching far beyond where you ever thought you could find success. So I appreciate you letting me be here, and I look forward to mingling and talking with you as the day progresses. Thanks very much, everybody.